Hola, mis amores. Hola, mis amores. ¿Cómo están? Baby, I know you seen it. Last night, Bad Bunny did his big one. Let's get into it. If you enjoyed the halftime show, but you were like, damn, I wish I knew what the heck was going on. What is he even saying? Don't worry, I got you. I'm going to do a little bit of translation, but I'm also going to give you the cultural significance so that you can also feel like part of the Latinos, okay? Because as somebody who has studied for over a decade, this region, this language, everything made sense to me and I wanted to make sense to you, okay? Así que no te preocupes, papi or mommy or baby. Now, as a black person, as a person of the black diaspora, as a person who is of Nigerian descent and African American descent, I have always, you know, gone out of my way to look for the different ways that we are connected in the black and the African diaspora. And let me just tell you, this is one of those ways, Bad Bunny, because there are raíces, there are roots that spread desde Africa all the way to the Caribbean, to the Americas. And baby, what do I mean when I say the diaspora? What do I mean when I say that we're connected? And Bad Bunny highlights that. When you think about Puerto Rican culture, but not just Puerto Rican culture, the entire identity of Latinidad, a lot of what makes it Latinidad is the blackness. Okay, listen, I'm just a messenger. I'm just a messenger. I'm just an observer. I'm just a student, and I'm just letting you know, okay? It's evident through the food, it's evident through the music, through the culture, through the way that they pronounce the words that they speak in Spanish, through the vibrancy and the vivaciousness and the bodaciousness. Okay? Accept it. Acéptalo. Acéptalo. Okay. What makes a lot of Latin American culture great is the black man's. All right, so let's get this started. Y para mi gente latina, nadie me puede decir que yo no soy latina. ¿Y por qué? Nobody can tell me I'm not Latina porque guess what? I did AncestryDNA.com like over 10 years ago. And, they had once told me that I have an ancestor that immigrated to the US through Puerto Rico. Entonces, exactly. Anyway, so this performance included music from Yo Hago Lo Que Me Da La Gana, which was released in 2020, Un Verano Sin Ti, which was released in 2022, and Debí Tirar Más Fotos, which was obviously released last year in 2025. Guys, go ahead. I'm telling you now, go and listen to these works of art because they really are art. And then also, it highlights and demonstrates music from prominent Puerto Rican artists and as well as some current day artists that we get to and legends that we get to see in the performance. I'm really excited about that. So this video is going to be me explaining what the heck just happened for the people who don't speak Spanish specifically, específicamente like Caribbean Spanish, because if you know, you know. And I'm going to explain to you the music, the message, the visuals, the storyline, all that. It's going to be great. Oh my God. Que rico ser Latino. Like just immediately, off the bat. My goodness. So the performance opens up with the phrase Que rico ser Latino, meaning what a joy it is to be Latino. And then it pans over this sugarcane field, which is like Benito. So we just gonna start off saying, hey, we all got here because of slavery, right? So we're not gonna glaze over that. Okay. So we got the people in their pavas, which is the hats that you would see traditionally worn by people who are like farmers and obviously, descendants of slavery, right? And Puerto Rico is no different from every country in the Americas, basically. Yeah. This whole Western hemisphere exists because, well, right. So gracias Benito for keeping it real, right? What an opening. He immediately goes into the song Tití me preguntó, which translates to my auntie asked me, right? This song he's talking about in essence, it's talking about a guy who just is not willing to commit and is evading commitment as far as girlfriends, going through a bunch of girlfriends. As this song opens up, he walks through this kind of path, and on this path, he's interacting with these different stands that have food and beverages and all types of things, right? Which are very culturally significant for the region because if you ever been to the Caribbean, any country, or just, the tropics, Latin America, these are things you're gonna see just walking down the street. So they have the coco frio, which is the cold coconut water. Eventually, he ends up passing this guy who is selling jewelry, oh yes, and he takes this ring. And again, remember the song is about not committing, but so he passes the ring to this other guy, and he says, "Muchacho, deje esto," right? Right? That's what he said. Something like that, right? Which means, "Hey, bro, take this." Funny is funny. This is cool because if y'all know the backstory and if you pay attention throughout the entirety of the video, they are in this wedding setting that keeps popping up. And the backstory to this is there is a TikTok couple who actually invited Benito to their wedding, but he couldn't go because I think it was on the day of the Super Bowl. So instead, he invited them to the Super Bowl, and actually, they really get married. So the scenes that you're seeing are real, and I think it's so cool and like iconic. Like, you gonna be able to tell your kids and your kids, like, do you know that? That's also possibly why Benito is wearing white in this performance as well. That's just my suspicion. Okay. After that, we promptly get into the party run, which was so lit. Like, my God. Like, didn't you just want to be there? He's standing on top of this, what seems to be a house at this time, which actually, funny enough, a lot of the props and the visuals that he used in this performance, he actually used in the concert that me and my friends went to. So I'm guessing he did it in his entire tour, but specifically we went in Medellin. Benito, my God. It was so lit. But yeah, all that to say, if you didn't get to go to the concert, it's okay because you're kind of going to it now. No? Okay, sorry if that doesn't make you feel any better. Well, he goes into the part where it's like this perfect blend of three different songs: Zafaera, Yo Perreo Sola, and Party. Like, first of all, kudos to you for that because the transitions were streamlined, like seamless. And in the scene, everybody's perreando, like sometimes you just want to get loose. In the Caribbean, they say bacanal. You just let go and twerking, perreo, juking in Chicago where I'm from, like grinding, belly rolling. These are all things that the African and the Black diaspora does. It just comes naturally to us. You got a problem with it, then you're not one of us, and that's okay. But for us, we're gonna perrear every fucking time. And if you can't get with it, that's fine. It's not for you. For me, this section really symbolized joy, release, rhythm, fun, letting go. And we all need that sometimes, okay? That's why carnival is a thing in pretty much every country in this region except for the US and Canada. Because there is something cathartic about putting on costumes and shaking ass. Quite frankly, it's okay. It doesn't have to make sense. Just do it. I promise you, you'll feel better. Ooh, I love this part. Dale, don, dale. Gasolina. Dame más gasolina. Wow. Fuego. Perreo, baby. Hasta abajo, baby. I'm out of breath. because I've been perreando. In the middle of the party scene, Benito falls through the ceiling into the living room of this unsuspecting family. And at that time, we hear some interesting music. Benito, there is this medley of 4 different songs that are like iconic, historically significant, and are old school Puerto Rican reggaeton songs. We get Pa que se lo gocen by Tego Calderon, Dale Don Dale by Don Omar, Noche de Travesura by Hector el Father, y claro que sí, lo que todo el mundo sabe, Gasolina by Daddy Yankee. And what is the significance of all of this? I'm about to tell you. These were all Puerto Rican artists, and this was very intentional. Reggaeton was first known as reggae in Espanol porque there was this guy named El General. He was Panamanian, but he was of like West Indian descent, most likely Jamaican. You know what? Let me fact check that right now. Was El General Jamaican? Panama. Period. He was. This is why you should listen to me because I know my shit. Okay, so El General was a descendant of what was a huge movement of West Indians being people from like, the Caribbean islands and some places that are not islands. I don't want the West Indian community coming after me. Listen, Guyana, Suriname, y'all got it. Panama, Nicaragua, Honduras. Listen, hey, don't come for me. I'm just speaking broadly. Y'all know that y'all belong in the Caribbean. Anyway, I digress. Basically, what was happening in the early 20th century was the Panama Canal was being created along with some other things that required workers. And so a lot of West Indian people, a lot of them black, made their way from their corresponding islands to Central America. And so that's what kind of created what we know today. If you go to, modern day Central America, you will find these pockets of let me forget Costa Rican, because I have a really close friend who is Costa Rican of Jamaican descent as well, you know. But you'll see that there's these pockets of communities that you're like, how did y'all get here? Well, I mean, slavery did that in the first place, but they became probably more pronounced in the earlier 20th century during this time period. So bringing it back to El General made his own rendition, or like a cover of a Jamaican song that was called, what was it called? Punani Tegereg. Why am I saying it in Spanish? Punani Tegereg. I don't really know how to say it. But El General song was Tu Pum Pum. And this just created a whole new movement and kind of gradually transitioned into the reggaeton that we know today. So from there, a lot of other Spanish speaking countries, namely Puerto Rico, picked it up and turned it into their own and created a whole new genre. And so from there, reggae en español became reggaeton. And this is just an aside, dembow, which is mostly known in the Dominican Republic and from the Dominican artists, similarly had its creation in the same way. There was a song called Dembow by a Jamaican dancehall artist, and from there they adopted that sound from that song, and you can really hear the influence in a lot of old songs and songs today. Old songs being like, from the 90s and early 2000s. So the significance of infusing these old school reggaeton songs is that Bad Bunny is honoring the people who came before him, basically. So I think that's really cool. And a lot of these people, these artists came from like Carolina. I forget which song, but there's one song where Bad Bunny, he mentions Carolina as like one of the birthplaces of reggaeton in Puerto Rico. And the significance of that is that Carolina has a significant black population, as well as some other places on the island like Loíza. So, it's all connected. Bad Bunny is giving his flowers. So the next scene is super sentimental, and I love the touch of the violin in the background. Basically, Bad Bunny goes into this whole part where he's like, if you see me here performing at the 60th installation of the Super Bowl, it's because he goes, Nunca deje de creer en mí. Tú también deberías creer en ti. Vales más lo que piensa. Créeme. Basically, he is saying, I ain't never stopped believing in myself. And for that reason, you should not either, because you are worth more than you even know. Believe me. And to that, I say thank you, because that is why I'm here making this video for you guys today. I just was like, I gotta believe myself. And thank you, Bad Bunny, for just reminding us all that, we all have our little spot in the universe where we can make a difference. And so for that reason,
I gotta put me first. I gotta put me first, Lucian.
Que lindo. And so the violin set the perfect tone for the wedding scene, right? We see these people getting married. It's the TikTok couple that I was telling you guys about. And then they leave the screen, and we are left with Lady Gaga, who is singing a salsa rendition of Die with a Smile. It was beautiful. Lady Gaga, muchísimas gracias. Pero yo creo que yo puedo hacer lo también. I'm not going to say better, but also. Honestly, Benito, you could have hired me. I also sing in Spanish, and I also dance a lot of salsa. Like a lot. Soy salsera. Mean to me. Wherever you go, that's where I follow. Come on. Benito. I'm right here. This could have been the Benito and Shantiani halftime show. It's fine. It's okay, Benito. You missed your chance. But there is always el futuro. Entonces, así que llámame, pues. Que me llame, por favor. Anyway, we also see that they're at the reception. Everybody's kissing. There's love in the air. They're having cake. And there's also a child who is asleep on a chair. And we all know, if you are an ethnic person, if there's a party, it's going late, there's going to be a kid somewhere that they ain't supposed to be sleeping, but they're going to be sleeping there anyway, usually on top of some coats. And that's because the parents can't take their ass home. That's fine. It be like that sometimes. All the times, actually. Any excuse we get to party, it's like that. And I love that for us. Nueva York! ¿Pero qué es eso? And then he gives the little baby a Grammy. How cute. In this scene, whew, child, I'm out of breath because I've been dancing. Okay, so then we get to the Nueva York part, right? And before we were listening to Baile Inolvidable, which was the reception scene, and oh my god, that was the most aggressive ass buzzing I've ever heard. But it's gone now. Woo! Where was I going? And this scene is amazing for a lot of reasons. Les voy a explicar. Okay, so New York City, right? The Bronx, Washington Heights, Harlem, Brooklyn, but also the greater Northeast region, some cities in Connecticut and Jersey are places where a lot of people from Puerto Rico and pretty much a lot of Latin countries emigrated to. Not to mention, just literally, New York City is an immigrant hub, right? A lot of people go through there. My daddy went through there. But it's super significant because if you've been to New York, you know how Latino it is, right? Puerto Ricans from New York are called New Yorkers. Like, they have their own name because it's that significant. The song Nueva York begins with a sample from the song Un Verano Sin Ti by the orchestra El Gran Combo, which is a Puerto Rican orchestra band, whatever you want to call them, from the 60s, 70s, that time where there was a lot going on in New York, right? There was something crawling on me. What the heck? Why? Okay. And so the song Un Verano en Nueva York means a summer in New York. And it's the original song is an ode to just having a summer in New York, if you know, it's lit, right? And then Bad Bunny goes and samples it and creates a whole new song around it that infuses salsa and reggaeton. Like, this guy's great. He's great. He truly is great. It's lit in New York. as a Latino? If you would like me to, comment down below where I can explain to you guys how salsa came about and how it's just a mix of, well, it's a salsa, which is a mezcla, which is a mix of a bunch of different influences, a lot of them black and a lot of them being Black American as well. But all in all, Bad Bunny infuses the nostalgia of having a summer in New York and historical context beautifully with the salsa and reggaeton sound. And so after the Nueva York scene, which features a bunch of bodegas and other things that you would see if you were to go to New York, especially in these Latino communities, yeah, it promptly goes into lo que pasó a Hawaii. And I happen to be someone who knows, kind of, right? Like, please, Hawaiians, people from the Aina, don't come for me. But I have lived on Hawaii for a total of 3 years in a past life. I know I don't look that old, but I'm grown. Okay? Put some respect on my name. There was a time in my life where I lived in Hawaii for 3 years and I got to see up close and personal just exactly what Bad Bunny is referring to in this song. And I feel for the Hawaiians, I feel for the Puerto Ricans, I feel for anybody in the struggle as a Black person, right? We understand what it's like to have the odds against you. So, what he's talking about in this song and in the reason why they took the opportunity to make it very sentimental with, oh my God, Ricky Martin, where you been at, boo? He looks good. He looks really good. And it was beautiful that he got him to do this, who is also a Puerto Rican artist. Don't get it twisted. Everything's intentional. And what happened to Hawaii was colonized unfairly. I mean, well, is colonization really fair? No. Okay. Anyway, it was colonized and then turned into a state against a lot of the wishes of the people who were from there, the natives from there, right? And Bad Bunny draws a parallel to what's happening currently in Puerto Rico, where Puerto Rico is a territory. It is colonized. Let's be honest. They don't have statehood yet, and that is something that's very controversial on the island. And I'm not even gonna get into that. You all can just research that on your own. But basically, he's talking about, the struggle that everyday people have to endure because of people who have come in and extracted resources, imposed taxes, just made life really freaking hard for the people who are from there. And as a person who lived in Hawaii, I've seen the families where they are like crunched into one house, multiple generations, everybody got multiple jobs because it's so expensive to live there. It is so expensive to live there. Yeah, I feel for them. And it's the same thing in Puerto Rico because if you are a territory or, just colonized by these Western countries, everything has to be imported, right? And so when things are imported, that comes with extra fees and taxes and things like that. And so that makes everything like triple the price that it needs to be. I mean, everything is expensive, but then you add that on there with inflation. My God, like get the people a break. And so he's saying, I don't want what happened to Hawaii to happen to Puerto Rico, and I understand that completely. So yeah, it's really a conundrum, and we gotta stop letting this shit happen. After Lo que pasó a Hawaii, we get into El Apagón, which the whole visuals and the song itself is a nod to the fact that PR, Puerto Rico, Borinquen, experiences a lot of blackouts to this day. And especially after Hurricane Maria, where there was like months where they went without power. And so that's why you'll see him climbing the utility pole and, he's dancing up there and he's looking good, period. But you'll also notice that the music is very raw, very stripped down. There is no melody or anything. There's just drums and percussions. And that also is a nod to a few things. One, the fact that Puerto Rico is a place that is largely influenced by Black culture, by Africans. And so the percussions that they use, that you hear in everything from the salsa to the reggaeton, it is the lifeline, it's the heartbeat, right? And in Apagón, you don't have electricity, so you might go without some things. But one thing about brown and Black people, we gonna always have a good time, and we're gonna be resourceful, and we're gonna make the best out of everything. And so, what do? They grab anything and they create a rhythm. They make a beat, and so that's when you hear the doom, 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 doom. Yeah, so El Apagón is just showing all of this in a very complex, intertwined way. And I love that he did this. Really, in this last few minutes, I think that Benito does a great job of highlighting without saying. I know there's sometimes there's a little controversy about, how Bad Bunny presents himself as being as a lighter skinned Latino. I think what's understood doesn't have to be said, and that's why I'm making this video for y'all because I want y'all to know that he's doing the damn thing, okay? And so these last few minutes, he really highlights the raíces negros de Puerto Rico and Latinidad in general. Period. Because not only are we hearing all the drums and just the history that he's already demonstrated, but then also you see the dancers, and the dancers, they are dancing some very significant dances to Africanness and blackness. Okay. You hear the Bombay Plena, which is a folk music out of Puerto Rico that is a direct descendant of African, mostly, and some Taino roots. So you see them dancing to these rhythms and dancing in that way. And you also see them dancing the Orisha dances, which, if you know about the Orishas, baby, if you know anything about Yoruba, then you know that they are getting their life and they are revering their blackness. I saw a lot of the grounded movement that comes from that. So what's understood does not have to be said. And I could go really deep into that, but I want you to tell me if you want me to do that. Comment below, okay? Because I can really talk about the African roots of Latinidad, especially through dance. And so then we go into Café con Ron, and that's just a nod to more to Puerto Rican culture. And you guys can look up the lyrics to that. It's like, in the morning we get some coffee, and then at night we get some rum and we get lit, right? And so you see the dancers and everybody involved starting to get more live as things come to a close. Café con Ron also features the group Los Pleneros de la Cresta, which is a bomba y plena group. And I mean, that's significant in and of itself because what I've already told you before is that is pure blackness, right? And then Benito goes into the part where he's like, God bless America. Which is the only thing he says in English. And I think that's hilarious because then, everybody's probably like, whoa, I understood that, right? And yeah, he's right. God bless America. And then you see all the flags from other American countries come out in a procession, zooming, okay, running. And he goes on to name a lot of countries from South America to Central America to the Caribbean. And I just want to stop here for a moment and give you my little 2 cents, which is people from the United States, myself included, we have this tendency to refer to ourselves as American and think that we're the only ones. When in fact, any country on the Western Hemisphere would be considered America, part of the New World. So like he said, he mentioned Canada, he mentioned Mexico, he mentioned Chile, Argentina, he mentioned Jamaica. I saw also the St. Kitts flag down there. He mentioned Los Antilles, which is cute, a large chain of islands. You got all these countries. And I think that was very clever of him to say because we have to get it together, okay? We're not the only Americans, okay? This whole hemisphere is America. And in history lessons across the world, they are taught that all of this is the Americas, and so we are all Americans. We got to stop centering ourselves in Americanness, okay? Because we ain't the only ones. Thanks for coming to my TED Talk. And finally, Benito decides to end things off with the most iconic song right now, Debí tirar más fotos. And that song is just about being present and really gozando la vida in the moment that it's happening, really enjoying life in the moment that it's happening and wishing that you did, looking back. It's kind of like a nostalgic song. And I think that's beautiful, a beautiful way to wrap things up, especially as he has this huge moment and he's like looking around. He's like, wow, I did this. This is what I did. And yes, you did, boo. But also, it just ends with community and presence. This entire performance was activism. Benito is an activist. I don't care what you say. He do what he got to do. So this demonstrated activism, inclusivity. You had all shades of people, right? It showed diversity, He had some LGBTQ moments in there. If you saw the guys in there getting it on, I loved it. It was so cute. It shows solidarity and intentionality. He was very intentional in every part of this performance. And I think it's amazing to do it on a stage in the US where the US is struggling, failing miserably at doing all of these things. Let's just be honest. I'm sorry. I'm not lying. I'm just telling you how it is. In this performance, Bad Bunny centers Puerto Rico. He highlights the roots of Puerto Rico, many of them being Black, and by proxy, underserved communities as well, because there are a lot of people who see themselves, even if they aren't Latino, in this. What's understood doesn't have to be said. And now you understand. Benito, muchísimas gracias por todo que hiciste. Y you know what? Sigue. Keep going. Well, or don't. You know what? Take a break. Whatever you want to do. But also, call me. Hello. Yeah, but please. Okay, thanks so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that as much as I did. If you like languages, if you like weather, or are perplexed by weather, I am a meteorologist, as well as a linguist, as well as a cantante, as well as a bailadora, bailarina. You know, sometimes you can't win everything. Anyway, ciao. I'll see you in my next video.